Let's discuss. Hey everyone, it's Rachel back again with another video, and today I am going to be checking out a new song from Heavensgate, which is excellent news. They have my absolute favorite EP from this year, and All I Loved Alone. That was their debut. They've come ripping into the scene. I just love them. They've got a great sound, so of course, stoked to see a new song from them already. It's called Violent Joy. I will link the music video in the description of this video. Make sure you check out the EP if you have not done so. There's been a lot of really great EPs at this point in the year, but this one is so standout to me. They've got something really special going. So I will link all their social media, promotional links, the music video in the description of this video. Shout out to the band and PR for getting this over to me in time to sort this video out. I'm going to stop talking and we are going to get straight into it. Heavensgate, Violent Joy, let's discuss. This definitely feels like a continuation of the sound that they've laid down, which makes sense. They've put out one EP, it was this year, so this has a lot of qualities, I think, and parallels that you can draw from songs in the EP. Jinsic is still my favorite. I love Lover's Dance. It's a huge track for me. I think Jinsic is still it's hard. I love Symbiotic Suicide. I have multiple that I would probably name. Comfort in the Slow Death. It's basically all of their songs. And this almost feels like all of them Except Lover's Dance, it feels like the rest of the songs kind of rolled up into something. I don't want to discredit the identity this song has, though, because it does feel like some of those drops drop a little harder, a little bit of that variation too. It was like it started that breakdown and then it got even wackier after, like, you know, one measure or something like that. So seeing stuff like that in there, it keeps it feeling refreshed. It doesn't seem like, oh, you just took like parts of, I'm not saying it in a way where it's like, oh, it's like you took everything that you've done so far and you just did it further. It feels polished too. So like not having a huge discography yet, but having, you know, a sound that you can identify that easily, I feel like that's a strong indicator of a band with promise. There's just something I think their vocalist does a great job, because his voice is one that I can identify. Obviously that's a big part of it. The first second that you get any vocals, it's one of those drops that I'm very much starting to associate with the band. But in addition to that, I think instrumentally they brought the same amount of character, identifiable qualities. They have a sound that they're going with. I did think, because briefly there was like a bit of singing in there, I thought maybe they might do broken up. Like Jinsik has a bit more singing than any of their other songs do, other than, we're not going to include Lover's Dance because that's just a completely different style for them. And one thing I would like to say is I did see, I think it was someone even in my comments or something when I did the reaction, and they were like, this is like a rip-off of Loathe or whatever. Absolutely not. Connor Sweeney helped produce this whole thing, so I don't think that somebody who wrote the Loathe that you're talking about being ripped off would be enabling a band they're working with to do something that they don't approve of. And I just don't agree. I don't think that it's, a lot of people are like, oh, why do bands always do something like this and stuff? But at the same time, you'd probably complain if the band put out the same song like 5 times, you know. It's just, there's always going to be people who have a problem with it. But I did want to comment specifically on the Load thing, because I do think that's a little bit ridiculous, given that Connor's helping them with production and stuff. He has a strong presence in the bands that he works with, so maybe you can hear that, and that's one thing. But ripping off is a pretty big, you know, a big statement to make about someone's art that they're putting out. So it is something that I felt that I should comment on, because I don't agree. But anyway, this feels like all the heaviness, the aggression that you're getting that EP, and then there's that, like, that one moment where I was like, oh, are they gonna throw in, like, you know, a chorus with singing or something, which they did not. But I love this chorus. That the first line of the chorus is, and the delivery on it, all of it is just probably one of my favorite parts of the song, one that like stayed with me immediately after my first listen. I do like to hear the singing and stuff a lot. I think going forward, I don't want to say it's something on this track I wish happened, because I love this will go on to repeat for me. But going forward in their discography, I hope they do continue to explore that and mixing it in with their aggression, because I think in Jinsik, it has a bridge where you get a lot of singing, but hearing it kind of like tied into the screams and tied into the real structure of the song and the parallels you can draw, even in the melodies or the delivery patterns, whatever. That stuff I really love, and would really enjoy seeing them continue to explore that. And even if it's, you know, I'm not talking about Lover's Dance, really more so like Jinsik I thought was so cool, because if you compare that track with Lover's Dance, and I think it was a single before Lover's Dance came out with a full EP, but having that as my favorite song and then going into the EP and hearing Lover's Dance for the first time and hearing how they expanded on these little hints that it was coming, that could possibly be what we heard in here and stuff. So just a band that keeps you on your toes, kind of, because you know they have more in their back pocket that they're capable of. I think that's really, when people say I don't understand why bands do stuff like this and stuff, I think it's to one, they're writing what they want to write. If you have a song that you feel is best expressed, like your message is best expressed by singing that rather than screaming, then go ahead and do that. That's what a band is going to do. But being able to take those sounds and mix them together and keep this identifiable sound where you're like, oh, I know that's the vocalist of Heavensgate. Oh, I know these instrumentals. This is Heavensgate. That sort of thing. it's laying down really solid ground for you to build on. So them being an early band, I feel like they're making all the right moves. This is a band to keep your eye on. I obviously have something I'd like to see from them going forward, but like I said with this song, I'm not at all disappointed. There were so many standout moments for me. I think that first drop is not even the best one, but it like starts you off on that foot, right? Instrumentals are just as stellar as the vocals here. You got insane use of blast beats. I think there's one part around the 2-minute mark or something of the song where it's like the blast beats come in and then the guitar, like I feel like all the musicians you have working together in this band too are very notable. This was, like I mentioned though, with the EP, this is my first experience with the vocalist, so coming to match that perfectly, which cannot be an easy task. You have some real roster hits in this lineup, I think. Of course, talk about like Josh Ang, who is a huge name in our scene, and then you have David Wilder. Those are two original members of Dealer. Josh Ang was really a driving factor, brain of that sound that was in early Dealer, which made them so successful. So seeing him come into 2022 and 2023 with bands like Heavensgate and Pincer Plus is really refreshing to me, I think, because with everything that happened, it's like I hope Josh Ang didn't go into hiding and we won't get music from him anymore, and then to have him come out with stuff like this that has a bit of a different sound, like it just shows the range of talent that's there. You could do like that metalcore sound, or I feel Pincer Plus and Heavensgate both really ride that line of, especially with their vocalists, of kind of like tapping into a little bit more of a hardcore style sound, at least more so than Dealer ever really did. And for how my tastes have shifted over the last 2 years, it's just perfect for me. I mean, if it were to be the other sound that he were to pursue, obviously not in the same way, but to pursue something of that sort, I think it would work for me just as well. But it's neat to get bands like this. If you haven't listened to Pincer Plus, please do so. They have some incredible tracks, and I'm waiting for them to do anything else because I'll definitely be, making a video for it on the channel. But check out Angel Dust, Breathing in the River, if you just want to get a feel for them before. But they just have one EP as well, just like Heavensgate. I highly recommend it. So we're very happy to have Josh Ang back actively, being in these bands and working with them. David Wilder is incredible as well, and also a super nice person. Big shout out to David. David is just wonderful. But you love to see people getting back into it, especially with something that so immediately, it doesn't feel like an adjustment, I guess. It's not like, oh wow, I had high expectations, I'm a little off put by this, but I can get into it. It was never like that. It was immediately like, oh my god, I love this, yes, and kind of just jumping right in from there. So for me, this track feels like a certain continuation of what's been laid down with And All I Loved Alone. That EP is still a weekly listen for me most weeks. It's still coming up on my charts, which is harder for EPs. EPs have less songs. A lot of times if I have an album on my weekly playlist, I just end up playing the albums more because they have more songs. But oftentimes I'll hear Jinsick or I'll hear Lover's Dance, Symbiotic Suicide, any of the songs really, and then I'll put them on repeat, which drives up the EP plays. And I think having that quality in such busy music times, which we've just gotten to the point where people are constantly releasing and stuff, this is a band I always make the space for to, all right, come on, don't fall off my listening radar. I love this. I can't, because it's easy. Sometimes I love stuff and it still falls off my radar, and then I re-find it a month or 2 months, whenever later, and I'm like, what happened? How did I stop jamming this? And it's just because everything is so overwhelming. Don't think that's going to happen with Heavensgate anytime soon. So having that kind of, I guess that sort of impression is key too. I've talked a lot in this, I believe, and it's not a song that's probably anywhere near the length of this outro. So if you're still watching, thanks. I will link all of the band's social media in the description of this video. As I mentioned before, a huge shout out to the band and the PR for getting this over to me in time to sort out a video. I know I haven't been posting a ton lately, but with moving and everything, you'll see me in the new setup and you'll know it's time for me to start posting more, doing more streams. It's just, I've had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life and I am doing the best that I can. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this song, what your favorite Heavensgate song is, and if this has the possibility to be the one, let me know. I thank you very much for watching. All my links will be in the description. That includes my Discord server where the community is based for my channel. It includes the Patreon, which I will be doing a big update of the tiers. When you see that new background, that's really when a lot of things will be changing. Hopefully more content, more streams. I'll be doing more on Twitch, which you can also find the link in that link tree in the description if you want to follow and see once I do get going on there. But everything should be kicking into gear once you see me in my new setup, and I'm very excited. Thanks for sticking with me during this time. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it.